Hello Internet, it is I, TheRoschi, and I'm back with some more Genshin Impact gameplay. And today we have GeoDaddy, Zhongli's first story quest. And boy, was this a good one. So much lore, it was just chef's kiss, so nice. However, there's a problem, and the problem is that the original recording of my playthrough is messed up. It got all jank, there's no audio whatsoever. It's a lost cause. So what you're going to see here instead is a reaction to the story quest. I'm very sorry, but that's the best I could do right now. I pause through it periodically and I share my thoughts, my feelings, etc. And they're more put together because I had time to think about it in between figuring out that there was no audio and doing the reaction. And that's just what it is. It's still a good time. I hope you enjoy it. And with that said, sorry and thank you so much for being here. Let's get into it.
Oh? I didn't think I would see you here.
Are these two your friends?
Yes. We had the fortune of meeting not too long ago. They are quite a knowledgeable and talented pair, and a pleasure to be around. Traveler, we were just discussing the history of Rex Lapis. Would you like to listen?
This, good sir, seems not to appreciate the almighty power of the Lord of Geo. As a professional archaeologist, I'm inclined to correct some of his erroneous views. We are discussing the whereabouts of the first Mora.
The first Mora?
As everyone knows, the Lord of Geo taught the ancient people of Liyue the craft of smelting, creating goods that allowed them to develop trade with the early nations of that time. Today, Liyue holds the sole right to cast Mora in the entire continent of Teyvat. The world's very first Mora should have been cast by the hands of the Lord of Geo himself thousands of years ago.
According to my research, as well as my own hypothesis, I believe that this coin of unique historical significance has been passed down secretly through the years as a kind of token. For example, perhaps the Qixing who control the Liyue use it in some kind of unknown ceremony they hold when they come to power.
No. My research indicates that the first Mora coin is not such a simple thing. Mora is a catalyst. This we all know. Even today, Mora is used in the mystic arts for its curious properties of weapon enhancement. The world's first Mora would no doubt possess the strongest power. My next historical treatise will boldly expound on the newest findings from my intense decade-long research. That is, that the Lord of Geo used this original Mora as a catalyst to enhance a dagger and a sword.
A dagger and a sword?
Well, buy the book when it comes out to read the full story. For now, I will only reveal this. The one who finds the dagger shall become supreme in Liyue, and the one who finds the sword may be crowned Liyue's sovereign.
I can't say I agree. Let us not speak of the authenticity of the dagger and sword first. But Mora and money came about simply because they are a convenient measure of a contract's value. Rex Lapis just meant for Mora to serve as a catalyst for people to exchange and trade. The world's first Mora is probably just an ordinary coin created by Rex Lapis. As for its fate, the same as all Mora, I suspect. It was simply spent somewhere.
I think that Mr. Hanshua's hypothesis seems reasonable. Mr. Zhongli's argument, on the other hand, lacks any evidence. How can you so easily dismiss the Lord of Geo's profound foresight?
No, I am not debating right or wrong. I am simply stating a fact.
Enough! Do you think you understand the Lord of Geo more than me?
I know but little about history, and I wouldn't dare to brag. But discussion is meaningless if everyone has the same opinion, no?
Well then, answer me this. Long ago, when Liyue Harbor was being constructed, the Lord of Geo taught the people how to build houses. The model home he used to teach them was completely cast from Mora, correct?
That is correct, indeed.
Okay, then tell me. Why would the Lord of Geo do something so extravagant, if not because of the mystical power that Mora contains?
There's a simple explanation, really. To the god of wealth and commerce, what material is easier to get than Mora?
Oh.
I mean, I am talking about Rex Lapis.
Excuse me, sir. I have some questions about archaeology. Can we find somewhere quiet to chat? I mean, if it's okay with you.
Oh, it's no problem at all. But may my friend accompany us? Perhaps they could be of some help.
Of course. They can come if that's what pleases you, sir. Let's go.
Okay. Let's pause there for a moment. I am going to be pausing to talk to you guys, about what I was thinking at the time and what I'm thinking now. So, first of all, it's crazy to actually watch all this and how smooth the dialogue is, just letting it run, because I'm always interrupting, saying my thoughts, taking my sweet time before I click onto the next thing. I probably drive you all insane with that. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, because it's not going to change. Either way, it's so funny, because I remember as this conversation was going on, I kept saying like, oh crap, Zhongli's speaking from experience, and like, oh, they're like, you don't have any proof, and he's just like, I'm just stating facts, and I'm like, dude, bro, you're not making it any easier to make it sound like you're talking about someone else. But at this point in time, Rex Lapis is supposedly dead, everyone believes it, so it just sounds kind of like Zhongli is sort of crazy right now. It's weird how he's like, oh yeah, well, I am talking about someone else, but the stuff that I am talking about that is very personal is also fact. It's a very weird back and forth. I mean, he's old. He can't help it. He's losing his mind at this point, probably. No. But, yeah, I thought this was a very interesting debate of sorts. And it's very true. What Zhongli said, just in life in general, how not everyone is going to have the same opinion. And if you're going to have a discussion about something, there's a good chance that not everyone is going to have your same outlook. What's the point of having a debate, a discussion, if everyone's going to have the same point of view? I know in the past, and not even in the past, like today too, I'd get all sorts of comments where it's just like, well, I mean, you're wrong. And I'm over here just like, cool. But from my perspective, I'm not entirely wrong. And that's just what that is, right? Of course, I am just flat out wrong about a lot of the things that I speculate. That's the whole point. If I got everything I said 100% right, what would be the point of continuing if I just knew everything? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I just like that they have that take on here, that where Zhongli's just kind of like, why are you getting mad? We can disagree. But he is also a little assertive with it, being like, but what I say is fact, though. I mean, that's kind of a dick thing to say, but he's not wrong. It's just weird. Anyway, we're gonna keep going. I have so much more to say. I am like looking at these characters right now, like, what was it, Wanyan or whatever her name is that we're about to go talk to? I forget. Oh man, seeing her now compared to where this ends up, I'm like, oh geez. Okay, yep. All right, so let's get back into it.
Drink and be merry.
The Lord of Geo sure is something. Barely been gone, and already his name is being slandered.
Although we are in the age of humankind, surely we must still show a measure of respect for the gods of the past.
I can die without regrets.
The Lord of Geo sure...
Although we...
Life is short, so
What I'm about to say is a bit disrespectful of the Lord of Geo and would draw a lot of angry looks. So it's best to discuss this somewhere quiet. Your argument just now exhibited acuteness of speech and thought. Most importantly, you don't fall for the boasting and acting of the others. You remain objective. So I have a question for you. Perhaps you will answer differently from other scholars. Do you think that all the gods that the Geo Archon killed were evil?
Let's not analyze it in terms of good versus evil. Rex Lapis placed great importance on the integrity of contracts. So any gods he killed certainly must have broken some kind of contract.
Right! The Lord of Geo wouldn't kill the innocent.
But when I was doing some research, I learned about the legend of the god of salt. The god of salt, Havria, was a very kind god, but she encountered Morax one day in battle. Morax used a rather underhanded trick to assassinate her.
What? No way!
This bit of history is a long story. But you may not like the truth when you hear it.
Don't worry, please tell me what you know. This event, I've already searched for answers for a long time.
No, it's just... Where should I begin?
Over here, Mr. Zhongli. I've been looking for you. So you're over here all this time.
Put down your weapon and stay back. Otherwise, Paimon's reporting you to the Millilith.
First of all, I'm not holding a weapon.
True.
There's no need to overreact now. I'm simply an archaeological researcher from Snezhnaya. I'm not here for trouble.
The Fatui say that every time.
But this time, I registered with the Liyue Ministry of Civil Affairs. I could show you the official documentation if you want to see it. I will be conducting an archaeological survey here, the results of which will all be shared with the ministry. I heard that Wangsheng Funeral Parlor had a consultant named Zhongli with immense knowledge of ancient history and archaeology. So I paid Wangsheng Funeral Parlor a handsome amount to hire Zhongli as my own consultant while I'm in town.
So you mean to say that this is work for the Wangsheng Funeral Parlor, yes? Well, since it's work, I don't have a choice. A consultant of the Wangsheng Funeral Parlor must respect their duty.
Of course you would be such a reasonable man. Well then, let's head out now, shall we?
Wait, if you are studying archaeology, can I go too? I am also a scholar in this field, so I can help.
That will give us a chance to continue the topic we were just discussing. Oh, and you should tag along too. This experience may be of help to you on your future adventures. It is a story from before the rise of the Seven. Although the god of salt has already perished, it will still be a meaningful experience for your journey.
Wait. This is an archaeological expedition, not a tour group. That's too many people.
But this friend of mine has a treasure-finding talent, surpassed by no one. It will surely be of great help to us.
Oh? What talent?
If my friend espies a treasure chest, they will absolutely find a way to open it.
It's true.
Hey, Paimon's good at that too.
Not really.
Wow, that is quite enticing. All right then. Well, let's go. There's no time to waste. When the Overlord of the Vortex was crushed by the Jade Chamber recently, perhaps something of interest was washed ashore. An ancient artifact would be good. Traces of ancient activity would be great. But a piece of the god's limb would be even better. Who knows what surprises we may find.
All right, gonna pause it again. Wow. Okay, I'm not gonna talk about too many things before they happen, but boy, they make it really hard to forgive the Fatui for any reason. It's extreme to how bad they make the Fatui appear in general. And man, it really just makes me point and laugh at the few people who are just like, not all Fatui are bad, which is obvious. Obviously not all Fatui are bad. but as an organization, they are the bad guys. They 100% are, at least with how the game is portraying them. I'm even thinking of another event in the future where it's more Fatui people doing some sketchy stuff. They have yet to do something that isn't sketchy. That's been shown in within the game. So it's like, man, I went into this and I was just kind of like, great. Good. Maybe this will be a chance for someone, the Fatui, to not be scummy. And then there's the last line that guy said right there, where there's that little bit of like excited desperation in his voice, like it'd be the best thing if we could even find like a god's limb. You know, like it's just kind of like, you know, this guy is going to snap at one point and just be like, "Oh, the treasure is mine," just from that one line. Like, you know, it's leading to that already. It makes it hard to defend them. At the same time, though, just based off of a storytelling perspective, there are reasons to make the Fatui appear as bad as they are all the time. And it could lead to one giant red herring. I feel like the Fatui are going to be continuously portrayed in a very negative light by doing some weird things, having a history of doing some weird things. And then whenever we maybe find out the reason for it all, like what it all leads up to, there might be that sense of like, oh, that's actually really important. The Fatui seemingly to try to find out like the truth of maybe what the world is. They're on to something, right? And it could just be one of those things where it's the end justifies the means. So they do all this weird, sketchy, horrible shit here and there, but what it leads to is kind of like the truth of everything. And then you realize that everyone else was in on this horrible secret that the Fatui just kind of revealed. Within this world right now, the Fatui are bad. I just have the feeling that it'll eventually lead to something, just gonna reveal an even greater evil. The enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think it might become something like that. Now, I don't know, but that's just the feeling I have. But right now, of course, I can't help but be like, oh man, another Fatui character, here we go, fuck. Even though I think deep down it will have this grandiose reveal later on. Not in the story quest, but like later in game, to a point that we haven't even seen yet. So that's my little, how I feel with that.
I wonder if he was here today.
I need to explore that area more in general. I've only really been here for this quest and then I bounced. I still need to walk around these islands.
This place looks so ordinary. Can we really find anything valuable here?
Huh? Paimon thinks it looks really grand.
I don't mean the scenery, but rather that there should be something out of the ordinary. A big battle did just occur and all, and I don't even know where to begin looking here.
Guyun Stone Forest is actually the perfect place to be, if you wish to learn about the gods or the history of the Archon War. Legend has it that Rex Lapis threw spears made of large rock into the sea here, piercing and crushing the overlord of the vortex.
That's so cool.
After many years of wind erosion, those stone spears have turned into the unique rock formations we see now.
These mountains were the Lord of Geo's weapons?
What we see now is just the part of them that remains. The stone spears hurled by Rex Lapis all those years ago were much greater, both in number and in size. But due to the different angles they landed at, their large centers of mass, erosion by seawater, and years of gravity, many of them have been completely swallowed by the sea. So besides wind erosion, the initial collapsing of the stone spears also played a big part in the formation of Guyun Stone Forest.
Well, a god able to fight one so powerful as Rex Lapis was certainly very strong in its own right.
Indeed. This is where the value lies in research at Guyun Stone Forest. Most of the objects from that time were lost to the sea. But the gigantic waves created by the Overlord of the Vortex have given those sunken objects a chance to see the light of day again.
So you're saying that if we look carefully, we'll be able to get very, very rich. I mean, rich with archaeological knowledge and historical value, yes? That's all I seek in life. Well, since we brought so many people, I think it would be best to split up and look.
Okay then. I will go with my friend here. Although I have a smattering of knowledge in various disciplines, when it comes to archaeology, I can't compete with the expert here.
Huh? Me?
What's the matter? This is your profession. Why are you so surprised?
I get it. I'll escort him then.
Okay. If we find anything valuable or rare, let's meet on the shore opposite from here.
Ether's hanging out with a lot of frauds. We got Fatui guy. Obviously a fraud. We've got Wanyan. We find out about her a little later. We got Zhongli. He's not actually dead. We got Paimon. She's the big bad. And so on. And then there's me. Obviously pure of heart and completely innocent in all regard.
The ancient god probably left behind lots of elemental marks. Following them should make our search much easier.
Actually, that's not true. Ether is just as sketchy. Or the protagonist in some way. Well, we're not sketchy. We're just stupid. We just have, like, the mind of, like, a 14-year-old. So that's unfortunate. Anyway.
Well, go ahead then. Use your elemental sight to look for any marks.
Wings of darkness! Come, Saturn Night!
Freeze! This moment will be frozen. Dodge this!
Why are there enemies here?
Guyun Stone Forest is a place where a god was defeated, and its remnants still affect the area to this day.
Something brings me joy seeing how the party's made of just people from Mondstadt. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Cool it! This moment will be frozen in time. Cool it! Time for retribution! As you wish, mein Fräulein.
I like Kaya's burst a lot, but I haven't really used him that much since I got Eula. She's really strong.
object in the center. Perhaps it emits the remnant strength of the god. That would certainly attract me. But the hydromanic monsters... I have a contract, and must put my personal feelings aside. Go ahead. Defeat them, and recover the relic.
Interesting. I don't know if I caught on to that before.
Shadow Raven, let night fall.
It's just a stone slab, but its design is quite unique. This should be enough to garner some information. Let's head back.
Whatever his true feelings were, whether he's going to say leave him alone or whatever that is, or something, he referred to the contract in a way where either this doesn't matter right now or this needs to be done, etc. So it's interesting how he was just like, well, I have a contract. Okay, just get rid of them. You know? So I'm wondering if it was already said or not, but what contract that is. If it's just any other contract from forever ago, or is this something in regards to Snezhnaya for some reason, the Tsaritsa, because that is a contract where at this point in time, don't know anything about other than things happen the way they did, and he's not allowed to talk about what he's getting in return for it, I guess. But it's also the contract to end all contracts. So you think that all contracts would be done with, even though it doesn't really work that way, because the concept of a contract would still continue to exist. But as far as contracts that he makes and does, I don't know. It's like, I'm not exactly sure the meaning behind that, and that technically hasn't happened yet, because as we will see, there are still verbal contracts that are made in this very story quest, which happens after the Archon quest and all that jazz. So contracts don't stop. There are still contracts. There is more to that, and it's referring to a different thing. I know that, like, his contract in particular to protect Liyue is technically over because he's dead now. That's not all contracts, right? So, unless if I'm misunderstanding, I think there is definitely a lot more going on that Zhongli here just kind of casually hinted to that we are not seeing as of yet. Clement, that's his name.
You call yourself a scholar of archaeology? You can't even recognize this or that. What are you good for?
We all have our areas of expertise. I already tried very hard to explain.
Oh, stop arguing! What in the world happened?
This girl just keeps bragging about how she's an archaeologist, but she doesn't even know anything about the surrounding ruins. I even know more than her. She left me to rely solely on guessing, experience, to find anything valuable to take back. Ugh, what a waste of time.
I've just been researching the god of salt, so I'm not familiar with sea relics. Is that so strange?
There's salt in the salt water.
And you kept asking about how much Mora everything is worth. Can the value of relics only be measured in Mora?
Isn't measuring their value in Mora the easiest way? This also matches the traditions of Liyue, does it not?
Now, calm down. No need to make a fuss. We were able to bring back some intriguing objects. Let's have a look. Oh, what a shame. These objects were indeed washed ashore by the Overlord of the Vortex, but they have nothing to do with the god besides being in the vicinity at the time. This stone slab we found, however, has a mysterious pattern and faint aura of divine power. Perhaps it will be useful for research purposes.
Quick, give it to me. At least we didn't come for nothing. The power of the gods, yes! This is good. Oh, but these other objects are certainly worth a little something, right? It should be enough to cover the cost of hiring you. It's all mine.
So, it's only valuable for research if there are remnants of divine power on it?
Not at all. My quest to uncover the history of the God of Salt is because history can tell us about culture and beliefs. But you're just trying to use archaeology to get rich.
Nonsense! I'm a professional archaeology researcher from Snezhnaya. I swear, if I'm lying, may the Lord of Geo strike me down.
Oh, by the way, you probably don't want to sell that teacup.
Oh? Why's that?
That's not an ancient teacup. It's part of Ningguang's collection. It must have fallen here along with the Jade Chamber. So unless you want to mess with the Qixing...
Ah, I see. What a shame. It was of such high quality, too.
See? You do want to sell these objects!
But, so what? Why can't I pursue wealth both intellectual and material? Don't be so simple-minded. All right, then. No need to stay here any longer. I'm rather quite intrigued by the God of Salt, too, actually. Let's go to Sal Terrae next.
Okay, so that's what that is. I was wondering how we get to Sal Terrae from here, because I know we go there, but I was like, what was our reason? Because I mean, I know we learn about the God of Salt, and it's such a cool story, and we know what Wan Yan's deal is. But I was just trying to think of like who suggests it, right? And I was thinking that like, oh, maybe Wan Yan does bring it up, but no, it's Clement because he just wants more stuff. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I like how Zhongli dropped Ningguang's name just to be like, yeah, you don't really want to mess with that. Definitely still belongs to someone technically. So yeah. It's almost weird to see how this guy was able to sign up with the Liyue Civil Affairs to go ahead and do this mission after current events. Well, current events in my timeline of playing through the game. Because there was already suspicion on the Fatui for being up to no good. They literally, a crowd of people, well, it's people talking, they literally even say Child's name, for example. Being one of the higher-ups within the Fatui, possibly up to no good after the events that happened. So it's weird that the civil affairs of Liyue would still, like, be letting new Fatui people show up and just be like, hey, yeah, we want to do research and dig up relics and stuff. And they're like, yeah, cool. It doesn't really make sense unless if that kind of happened before it, and because a contract's a contract, it's like you can't really just go back on it. So I'm not exactly sure how the timing of this here is, but if it happened after the stuff that went on, then that's like, man, someone was brain dead in the office that day at Civil Affairs. Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's go to Sal Terrae.
Ugh, you're simply a money grubber.
And what are you then? All you think about is digging up valuable relics every day.
They're still arguing? Ugh. Let's not bother them.
Last thing I'll say before we move on to Sal Terrae, which I imagine that's where this is going. At this point in time, I'm like, in the original playthrough of mine going through this, I'm very much like on Wan Yan's side. Not knowing where this is going to lead to with her. Just kind of like, yeah, screw you, Fatui guy. What the heck is your problem? And I was like, you know, yeah, she researches a specific field. But then after this talk, even though I don't like this dude, he did say, like, you should know the basics. And I was starting to think, like, you know, he's got a point. You should know a little more. So at this point in time, I went from really like, yeah, she's in the right, to kind of like, there is something up with you. I don't know what it is, but why do you not know much about anything else? If we actually believe anything this guy says. So, yeah, I'll share that. I like Sal Terrae on the map. I think it's a really cool location, just showing these other remnants of like some other god and stuff, and like it's cool. I remember being here before. I'm like, what is all this? So I was really excited to come back to this area and getting a chance to explore it more. It felt very cool.
Oz, reveal.
Retribution!
Freeze!
Shadow Raven, let night fall.
I guess I like in general when we get to hear the stories of other gods before the Archons. I don't know, there's just something really special about that for the world building.
I heard that Sal Terrae was once the home of the god of Salt's people. Therefore, there's sure to be loads of valuable relics nearby.
According to legend, the people of the god of Salt, Havria, enjoyed prosperous lives under her protection. But this legend has been around for ages. With the countless scrap collectors and treasure hoarders in the area, there probably aren't many valuable things left here.
Oh, good. That's just great. If I knew it was picked this clean before, I wouldn't have come.
About that, I know there's a ruin deep in this cave here. It's related to the god of Salt, which is actually how the area originally got its name of Sal Terrae. However, the ruin entrance has been sealed by a mysterious power. Nobody has been able to break the seal. I found a mechanism that seemed to be related to the seal, but when I undid the mechanism, the seal wasn't affected at all. So at the moment, the seal's origin and how to break it are very important topics in my research on the god of Salt. I don't know, there's no concrete evidence, but I'm pretty sure the seal is meant to hide some kind of long-forgotten truth. The god of Salt was a benevolent god, adored by the people, not to mention powerful. She wouldn't have any kind of shameful secrets to hide. So, the one who wants to hide some truth is very possibly her killer. Morax.
This doesn't sound like something the Lord of Geo would do, though.
Who cares about all that? It sounds like countless treasures of the god of Salt lie within this ruin, just waiting for someone to find them, right?
You weren't listening at all, were you? Even if there's a mountain of treasures inside, nobody can get in if the seal isn't broken.
Ah, but we have the illustrious Mr. Zhongli with us. He looks like he knows just about everything. A little seal shouldn't be any trouble for him.
This seal seems to be quite ancient. Even Mr. Zhongli may not know all of its secrets.
I may know something about it.
What?
Over the years, I've heard various rumors with bits of knowledge about seals. Although their references seem rather disorderly, they do in fact contain the secret to breaking seals. Let's go take a look at the mechanism Miss Wanyan just mentioned.
Okay, since Mr. Zhongli says so, follow me then.
I mean, throughout all this, in my original playthrough, I was very sus of Zhongli as well. Rightfully so, in my opinion. In the very beginning, with Wanyan having the secret off-to-the-side conversation with Zhongli, and her talking about like how the Geo Archon is responsible for the death of the Salt god, and then Paimon going like, yeah, Morax wouldn't kill anyone who was innocent though, right? Right? Looking at Zhongli, he's like, well, you know, like things like that. So at that point in time, I have the idea that that makes sense, that Zhongli would have to kill other gods, because that, I mean, that's the Archon War, man, and you know, Shades of Grey and all that stuff. And I was very much in the thought, like, just in the headspace of kind of like, man, this is going to reveal some dark stuff about Zhongli here in the past, about how he just straight up like murked these other gods because they were, you know, going after the seat. And but I'm also thinking like, oh, but maybe he did mention contracts. What if this Salt god had some kind of contract and they broke it, and despite not really being a bad figure, they still had to be punished for technically not following the rules of something. So what could they have done? And that's kind of where my mind was spinning at the time going through this. Of course, I know what happens at this point, but yeah, just letting you know that I was all like going like crazy brain blast mode in that moment. Just throwing my opinion out there about where this was going to lead. But anyway, yep, just wanted to share that.
Here it is. There's some debris scattered here that, when put together, look like they definitely had to do with the god of salt. According to the inscription on the side, if one looks from a certain angle, the secret to the mechanism will be revealed.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, okay, it's one of those.
See that? Although we activated the mechanism, nothing happened to the seal.
That's because there's actually another mechanism that must be activated.
Another?
Another one.
Let me lead the way from here.
Zhongli just went, well, actually, and then she went, another one.
This place seems familiar. Huh, I remember. I think there's some elemental monuments here. So you're saying they're related to all this? When I investigated the seal last time, I had someone with a vision accompany me. But when we lit up all the elemental monuments, nothing happened.
That's because you don't just need to activate them at the same time, but in a certain order as well. Otherwise, the seal will not be broken. The secret to this puzzle is hidden in the legends about the Archon War. Tianheng in the south, Yaoguang in the east, Guyun in the west, Qingce in the north. All desolate and devoid of life. Liyue is vast, yet even one haven is hard to find.
To the north, to the east. Do the people of Liyue always talk in riddles?
I think I've heard this saying before.
Certainly you have. And the contents of this saying are also related to the god of salt. To provide a haven for her people, whose lives had been ravaged by the Archon War, this benevolent god searched all across Liyue. At that time, with the chaotic fires of war engulfing the land, even one sliver of peace was a luxury. And that haven she eventually found is right here. Today, it is known as Sal Terrae.
How sad, then. In the end, this peaceful place was destroyed by Morax.
Okay, enough with these ancient stories. Now that we have the clue, hurry up and break the seal. Whatever happened doesn't matter as long as we can get inside that ruin.
Tianheng in the south, Yaoguang in the east, Guyun in the west, Qingce in the north. With this clue, you should be able to solve the puzzle.
I like these directional puzzles. I thought it was really cool with the Chi of Your quest doing the similar thing. It makes sense for Liyue with the different sections of Liyue and stuff like that. Hopefully it's not a repeated thing. Oh, okay. Is this something I didn't experience? Just to get that one Zhongli line? What's this?
Tianheng in the south, Yaoguang in the east, Guyun in the west, Qingce in the north. The directions are the clue. Give it another try.
Oh, that was it? You just wanted to hear him say the directions again? Alright, sure. There you go, you got a line from Zhongli when you don't do the puzzle right. I think I had to switch to Lisa for this.
Look! The seal really was broken! Mr. Zhongli is indeed quite remarkable.
It was nothing, really. Now, it's time that people learn the hidden truth lost to time.
Actually, I might have had Fischl in my party, but I haven't built Fischl yet. Which maybe I should do.
Before entering the ruin, I have a proposal that will help us prevent the kind of senseless arguing between you two that we saw at Guyun Stone Forest.
Okay. What is it?
I propose you two agree upon a contract, stipulating that we alternate who gets claim to each treasure we encounter, with only one object permitted per claim. To show my sincerity, I won't be taking any treasure. This will just be between you all.
Then we say I won't take any either.
Don't pass an opportunity like this up so easily.
I don't agree. I mean, you want me to split the treasure with this amateur archaeologist? No, absolutely not.
I don't agree either. He will only defile the precious relics left behind by the god of salt. I can't accept this.
Well then, if the contract is not agreed upon, I will no longer serve as your consultant on this expedition. You will have to rely on your own experience to find whatever treasures are hidden in this ruin, as well as traps.
You have the audacity to demand this. Okay then. Even half of the treasure in the long-sealed ruin of the god of salt should be enough to make a fortune.
If you want me to agree upon this contract, so be it. I just have one request, Mr. Zhongli. If we discover the truth behind the god of salt, you must judge it fairly, even if the truth harms Morax's image.
I can accept this arrangement. Well then, let's go.
Okay, so a few things here. Now, just gonna say, we're gonna come back to it later. This is a contract, right? And I said, Ether said, I will also not take part in the rewards of this quest. Paimon did not. Paimon, I know we're seen as like one unit. Paimon's technically their own individual. They did not agree to anything just now. Just saying. Just saying. So there's that. The next thing I'll say. I love how Zhongli was just so easily able to agree with Wanyan's request, where she's like, look, when we inevitably find the bad things about Morax, you gotta be like, yeah, Morax is bad, okay? And Zhongli is just like, yeah, sure. Because he already knows the truth, and it's just, oh man, it's like, oh god. Oh god, it's rough. It's rough. It just reminds me of people how there's just some people that are just kind of like, now don't get upset when I'm right, and then they're just horribly wrong, and then they just can't accept it. Oh, poor Wanyan. She, okay. Anyway, let's continue. Farewell, sweet salt. What'd you just get? Oh, violet grass, okay. You don't have to switch. You don't have to switch to Geo.
Sure.
Oh, you already have them. But they're gonna give them to you anyway. Or they would have, and you would have had 5 members. This is crazy.
Are these statues?
No. These are people.
Duh.
Were people.
They were probably followers of the god of salt.
How did they become this way?
What in the world is hidden deep in this ruin?
Yeah. I saw that and I was like, oh no.
Solidify!
By royal
What's the hurry?
Getting to play as Zhongli was fun. It definitely turns Genshin into easy mode, 100%. Very powerful. Almost too powerful. In my opinion.
Look at this. It's filled halfway with salt.
Oh, it just looks like a fancy salt holder. Seems like the god of salt was a god lacking in treasures.
According to my knowledge, it's no ordinary vessel. Although it is only half full, it is also forever half full. That is to say, it is bottomless.
What? You're saying that even if I pour the salt out, the amount inside won't change?
Exactly.
It's a lot of salt.
Able to produce endless salt. The god of salt is powerful indeed.
Finally, after all that effort, I've found precious treasure. I claim this as mine. I just need to pour the endless salt into 1,000 or 10,000 bags. I can sell it and make a fortune.
Hey, how can you use a relic of the god of salt for such a shallow pursuit?
If Mr. Clement wants this salt chalice, then the next object we find will belong to Miss Wanyan, according to the contract agreed upon.
Of course, as we agreed. But how can anything be worth more than this rare find?
Since we have a contract, it's no use for me to fight with him.
Then let's move on, shall we?
Clement's stupid, man. I mean, yeah, I remember, I think I remember what the other artifact is, and either one would have been, like, good for business, so it doesn't really matter. And just the greed, like, just the obvious oversaturated greed that they gave this guy, and of course that one thing leads to the other, and we'll get into it. But man, it's a thing.
Stabilize!
odds reveal the
Dodge this! Don't get frostbite. What's the hurt?
I really liked this little dungeon, and just seeing all these petrified people. It was It just felt so heavy.
Just a simple ruler. It doesn't look to be worth anything.
This, if I remember correctly, this is some kind of measuring tool.
Indeed. But the god of salt imbued it with another power. When you stick this ruler in the ground, the surrounding area will become covered in salt, much like a rising tide covers the earth. The deeper it is stuck in the ground, the more salt will appear. It is essentially a bumper harvest of salt.
What? That's even better than the salt chalice.
Well then, according to our contract, the salt ruler goes to Miss Wanyan.
No, unacceptable. I paid for and organized this entire expedition. Why should I get the short end of the stick? And this girl has been useless. Why would she get anything?
Oh boy, here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
So you are saying you want to break the contract?
So what if I break it? Now that I've seen how the mechanisms in this ruin work, I no longer need you. Let's not forget who hired who here. Why should I let you make the rules?
Because you agreed to a contract. Rex Lapis once said, "Ones who break their contracts shall suffer the wrath of the rock."
That is one of your Liyue gods. I am from Snezhnaya. I
will suffer the wrath of the rock. You may find it rather unpleasant.
Oh man, it's a good line.
Oz revealed by
Quake! I will have order. Retribution!
This guy just gets smoked.
Don't get frostbite.
Can't run from death.
I shall confiscate your treasure as well. You are not worthy to continue any further into the ruin. Leave this place.
Oh, darn you! Just you wait.
Yep.
Some archaeological survey. He could only pretend for so long. Hey, Paimon likes Mora, but Paimon doesn't do bad things.
Clement's wrongdoings
Paimon doesn't do bad things yet. Anyway.
stemmed from greed, yes. But besides greed, there are many other things that may tempt us to break contracts. When people see the object of their dreams, how many are really able to control their desire and follow the contract? I think we should be honest with each other now.
Huh? Be honest about what?
That in truth, not a single member of this archaeological expedition came here for archaeology.
Why do you say that?
Miss, you lack even the most basic archaeological knowledge.
Yep, it all comes
and
together.
can recognize naught but a few simple relics. However, you are an expert when it comes to anything regarding the god of salt. You aren't interested in archaeology or relics. What you're really interested in is the god of salt. I believe those legends about the god of salt that you mentioned on the Pearl Galley are passed down between generations at Guyun Hall.
Okay, that's enough. Sir, you are indeed a man of great knowledge and talents. I seem to have been right to seek you out once I plucked up my courage. You're right. I'm not a scholar of archaeology. I come from one of the 8 trades under the jurisdiction of the Chising, Yinyuan Hall of the salt industry. Our ancestors were those protected by the god of salt all those years ago, when the Archon War engulfed the land in chaos.
Oh, right! Now that you mention it, the people of Liyue very seldom use the name Morax.
Yup.
During the war, Morax assassinated our god out of envy for her power. He left us alone and lost in the world. We hate him! But this is Morax's Liyue after all. And its history is written as he wishes.
If Havria had more power than the Morax, then I don't think she would have died just because she's benevolent. So her logic is already flawed.
So I seek proof of Morax's guilt. He has blood on his hands and cruelty in his heart. We agreed to a contract that we will face the truth head on, didn't we, Mr. Zhongli? You must judge this history fairly.
Naturally, of course. But I must add, Liyue is no longer Morax's Liyue. Come with me. All the answers you seek lie ahead.
Yeah, he hated that. He absolutely hated that. And he feels bad for what he's about to reveal. I don't think I got that chest. Damn it! Feels bad, man.
Rise! Rise!
Whoa, don't leave the domain. Let's just calm down.
Solidify!
Oz, reveal the...
Dodge this! Right! Burn! Dodge this! Don't get frostbite.
One thing I did while in this domain with Zhongli is that I took the time to actually look at his animations and such. And they were very cool. He's pretty sick. At the same time, if I ever do get a chance to pull for Zhongli, I don't know if I would do it immediately. I'm kind of in a weird place when it comes to pulling for the Archons, because I think they would make the game too easy. There's other characters I also want first before I get characters that are completely going to make the game too much of a breeze to get through, in my opinion. I think if I get Zhongli and I just have his shield, it takes away some of the fun for me if I can just stand there and not take damage. That's weird to say though, right? That's weird. I don't know. It's all right. But maybe I'll change my mind later and I will want something like that. Either way, I forgot what I was talking about. Zhongli has cool attack animations. There we go.
Crumble! I will have order!
By destroying everything with a meteor.
Quake!
By royal decree!
Freeze!
Okay.
This is a sword? Aha! It's a broken sword! This is proof! This proves that the god of salt had to fight back against the evil Morax. But sadly, she was defeated. The power of this sword surely is much greater than that of the Salt Chalice and Salt Ruler. If we can repair the sword, then we can show the world the mighty power of the god of salt.
It does look like something left behind after being defeated in battle.
2 pieces of a broken sword. From an archaeological perspective, these are 2 separate relics. According to the contract, you can only claim one.
Why? We were alternating claims to treasure, true. But Clement is no longer here.
Yes, but the only one object per claim clause still holds true. You cannot take 2 relics at the same time.
This logic!
Zhongli, She seems like a good person, and no one is fighting over the treasure. How about you let this one slide, huh?
When there's a contract, nothing can be allowed to slide. If the contract is not followed, then it is broken.
No! If I only take one half, then it can't be repaired, and the power of the God of Salt cannot be restored. No matter what, I must be faithful to her. Even if it breaks the contract, I don't care.
So you are already decided? Then there is a price to pay for breaking the contract.
Zhongli!
That is to say, you consign yourself to suffer the wrath of the rock.
That's okay. The God of Salt gave up her life to protect her people. My sacrifice is nothing compared to that. Punish me however you want. Just let me take this proof of my faith.
No, you can't hit her!
I mean,
Perhaps that punishment would be easier for her. But, as punishment, I will tell you the truth.
before we get into this, sorry to interrupt. First of all, Paimon, he totally can hit her, but he's about to hurt her a lot more in other ways. So, here's the thing. At this point in time, in my original gameplay, I think I would have become Zhongli's worst enemy. Because there's a loophole here. Remember earlier the contract was made how each person gets one relic? And Zhongli and Ether opt out. What's stopping Paimon for taking the other half of the sword? Wanyan takes one, Paimon takes the other. We go up to the surface, they trade something for it. Make an actual exchange of some kind. Paimon likes money, she likes treasure, she could pay for it. Doesn't even have to be super expensive, whatever that is. She gets the sword, she goes back to her people, hero, all that stuff. This is not breaking Zhongli's contract as long as Paimon and I are two different individuals. Paimon never said she would opt out of taking anything. In fact, she was against the idea of me not taking anything, not us. Ether said, I will not take anything. He did not say, we will not take anything. Check and mate, Zhongli. Just saying. If the characters were smart, they would have figured that out. I don't know where else in the contract that was made verbally that could say that that's not allowed. I mean, as if Paimon is not considered a person when they say each person gets one. If she's not considered a person, then sure. But that's a little rough. That's pretty extreme. I kind of wish it was brought up a little bit. It would have been very interesting. Although I do like the direction that the story goes in. I'm just saying that this is I'm a schemer. Zhongli, I'm going to find your loopholes. Just like how you found yours. We can continue.
Huh? The truth? You mean the truth is my punishment?
Yes. The truth that I am about to tell you shall be your price to pay for breaking the contract. I'm afraid to say that the god of salt, Havria, was not the powerful god you imagine her to be. Rather, she was a small and weak god who yielded to all other gods. When it came to war, she lost, never able to win a seat among the seven.
What?
During the Archon War, the gods of this world used all their strength and cunning to vie for control of Teyvat. But Havria instead chose to flee. She thought that by giving up before a fight could start, she could save herself and her people from the war. However, during such a long war, there is no end to the advances of aggressors. After making countless concessions, Havria lost all of her lands, until only one small haven remained.
No. No! It can't be so.
In her last days, She had not even a single blade to defend her people with.
Not even a single blade? Then... this sword...
This sword is not a relic belonging to the god of salt, but is instead the murder weapon used to kill her.
Oof.
Murder weapon? No! That's not true! That can't be true! You're trying to test my faith in the god of salt.
As I said before, I only state the facts.
Preposterous! You are a follower of Morax. Don't try to trick me!
I thought we were supposed to go with what the truth was.
Indeed. Otherwise, why would I use the truth as punishment? I did not want to tell her such cruel facts. But the contract was broken. Let's follow her deeper into the ruin. There, I fear, we will find something that will leave her no choice but to face the truth.
Here's the thing about that. We went to this place, or we went on this journey in general with all these characters to continue the conversation that Wanyan had talked to Zhongli about. And of course, he didn't want to just straight up tell her right there at the boat. Him going like, I didn't want to tell her the truth, but it's her punishment. It's kind of bullshit. Because if he didn't tell her the truth, she was going to continue believing that Morax was the killer, was the murderer. And I don't think Zhongli is going to just let that slide. Just be like, okay, here's the sword. And then she agrees to, and then she doesn't flip out and she agrees to leave it in its place, but just continues to believe like, yeah, that's the sword that Morax used to kill the salt god. Thanks for showing me. I'm gonna write about this, and yeah, great. And then leaves. I don't think so. I don't think Zhongli would have just been like, yeah, okay. He was gonna break the news to her regardless. Maybe he would have done it a different way, but it's not like how he phrased it was very harsh either. So I don't know, man. I think you came down here with like, the whole idea is like gonna share the truth with you eventually in some way, shape, or form. She was gonna react like this regardless because, you know, when we find out the truth that Morax is bad, you can't be like, no. Both ways. She's finding out the truth about her god right now, and she's finding out that that Havria kind of shit the bed, unfortunately, and it sucks, but she's in denial. It's rough, man. Damn. This is emotional right now. But yeah, the salt on the blade looking like blood stains and stuff. Like, oh man.
Are these statue thingies running?
Mm-hmm.
What will we find ahead?
Salt. And betrayal.
Oh man, this was so intense walking up these stairs. Seeing all these bodies running away. This is a very good quest.
What are all these? What did they see? What did they do? What happened?
Since you do not trust me, let us continue onward. That which lies beyond this door will show you all that happened back then.
Yeah, this room is crazy.
This is the scene of the crime. Havria's body dissipated, leaving nothing but these traces of salt. Her dying moments have since been frozen in time to this very day. The story continues that some among her people realized at last that this gentle, kind, but weak god could never protect anyone in wartime. The Archon War was cruel in the extreme. Instead of consigning her to the agony of defeat, they thought perhaps it would be better to give her a quick release.
But what about these statue thingies?
No matter how weak the god, the power that flows forth when they are slain is beyond the strength of mortal coils to bear. Those who could not flee were thus transformed. Those of her people who were untouched by this disaster left for Liyue, where they sought refuge with Rex Lapis. Their descendants feared Havria's remnants and lived in terror that she had laid upon them an eternal curse. So they risked their lives to come here, to break the sword, and offer up obeisances in hopes that her anger might be appeased. But they need not have done so. For how could a god who had never once resisted, even till the end, nurse hatred for her people in her heart?
Even if this is so, I can't. This must be a lie. A false history, all of it. Don't you dare try to shake my faith.
Yikes. Zhongli didn't show any mercy this time either.
Good.
This is the price she must pay. Yet I would not call it a bad thing. Judging by how she appeared, I fear that she will struggle for a time. But even if she may not escape that struggle immediately, simply recognizing the truth is good enough for now. Indeed, in ages past, Havria's story served as a warning to me as well. Faith in a god who has already passed will do you no good. So it is for Havria. And so it is for Morax also. All right then. Now, would you like to accompany me in taking a trip to Guyun Stone Forest?
Huh? What do you want to do, Zhongli?
Treading old ground, telling old stories. One cannot help but be reminded of old acquaintances.
Osmanthus wine. Yeah. Yeah, that was rough. And I know I blurted out good when they said, like, wow, Zhongli didn't hold back telling her the truth. And, like, no, even though I did say, like, yeah, he came down here with the intent to do this and blah, 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 but I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I don't agree with everything Zhongli does and what he says. I've said this a couple times. This is a guy that I'd want to sit down with over tea and just talk and debate about stuff. Because I think how he feels about things is very, very interesting, and I respect it. However, I do not agree with everything he says and goes off of. Zhongli's not in the clear. None of these characters are really in the clear. Well, I mean, maybe some of them are. But, like, it's the shades of gray. And I really do like that. And I do like experiencing these things. And forming these opinions about these characters and feeling certain ways, and because it's provoking that emotion, right? So there are moments here where I'm kind of like, oh, Zhongli, you're being sneaky, you're up to no good, freaking schemer, you think it's fair, you think your point of view and how things should be are fair and blah blah blah. And I could argue that no, everything you say, Zhongli, is not actually fair. I get where you're coming from, but it's not. And I just think that's really interesting about him. I mean, technically, he could have just crushed her with a rock. But instead he did this. But Wanyan is also ridiculous too, because she held Zhongli up to a standard, and she can't do the same for herself. It's crazy. It's crazy shit. But I love it. It's thoroughly entertaining to see all this. And I think I'm just rambling now, so we're just going to continue. Sorry about that. I forgot my point. It's so wild how her own people, what was left of them, just like, we're just like, nah, we gotta end this. Give her a mercy killing. That's crazy. I was gonna say, if there was a chest or a book back there, I was gonna slap myself because I did not go up there and look behind that altar. Jesus. All right. Now we're here.
Now, I mentioned before that many gods of old have been sealed beneath the Guyun stone forest. The Adepti have presently handed Liyue over to mortals, and Havria's time was even further in the past. The Salt Chalice and Salt Ruler that she left behind should not return to Liyue. To leave them here is to let them slumber. And it is also a homecoming. I ended an era with my own two hands. I've always wondered how I should remember that which I ended. History records, but history may be changed. This incident proved that. Time is a mighty force, and history's twist in its flow. I need to find a better way of recording history in order to engrave its truth. Stone carvings were one such ancient method, but unchanging stone, immovable earth, even one such as myself. Someday we may all disappear.
Zhongli.
Therefore, I thought of you, traveler. You are one who crosses the celestial atlas, and who passes through countless worlds. If our history is engraved in your memory, it will one day accompany you into another world. As long as a traveler like you is able to record what happened, then a backup of sorts will exist for times and tides of Teyvat.
Sounds like tough work.
Now then, it is time that we consigned both the Salt Chalice and Salt Ruler to the sea.
Huh? Why do we need to throw them into the sea?
As I said before, this is the place to which the remnants of many bygone gods are consigned. This includes Osial, Overlord of the Vortex, who the Jade Chamber most recently returned to this ocean prison. Thousands of years ago, the Adepti and I fought against the turmoil that plagued every corner of this land. Guyun Stone Forest, where I sealed many gods with my spears. After so long, naught but folk tales remain. Osial, you and I were foes, but our ancient grudge is but a bygone memory now. May that which Havria has left behind be yours to subsume. And thus another spark of divinity departs from Liyue. My legacy shall now be left to those who come after to debate. I will remain here for a while, I fear that moments of reminiscence like this can only grow fewer. That is a good question. In the past, I might have given you a most specific answer. But now... Yes. I suppose I will continue in my role as a consultant at Wangsheng Funeral Parlor. But if this journey was to your liking, why don't you come along the next time I am seeking to preserve memories of Liyue's past? I will remain here for a while.
Okay. Oh.
I fear that moments of reminiscence like this can only grow fewer. Though the Salt Chalice and Salt Ruler do have power in their own right, they are nothing before Osayo. If a day comes when he should recover his strength and return, I believe that even so, he will be defeated once more. I will remain here for a while. I fear that moments of reminiscence like this can only grow fewer. We did not measure right and wrong during the days of the Archon War in the same manner as we do today. Of course, as I am now, I only wish that she could have lived in a gentler time.
Okay. So that was the Zhongli's story quest, his first one. And I just want to share some of my thoughts about it. It was great. I love this 100%. I do think some things were a little weird here and there. I do think some things were very obvious originally. I do think that I was actually onto something with like finding the loophole in the contract. So like I felt proud of that, whether or not I should or shouldn't, you know, like I said, shades of gray. But yeah, it's just, it was a really interesting time, and it was great to learn lore about another god and how Zhongli kind of feels about all of this, and other characters too, obviously. It has a very bittersweet ending to it. You know, not everyone came out of this happy. Clement gets freaking owned and has to leave and gets nothing. Wanyan gets the truth hard and like actually shaken, her faith shaken, and she flees. And you know that's kind of like something that's going to take a long time to recover from. I'd be curious to see if she's actually in the world anywhere where I can talk to her and like get an idea of how she feels now after the events of this, if it's at all possible. And then Zhongli's outlook on things and how he's just kind of like, you know, these gods here are gone, and now including myself, Morax is gone, Rex Lapis is gone now, and the people need to stop clinging to these dead gods, essentially, because they're more than that. They're more than just what these gods wanted from them, and so on. And as a people, like, they will have to essentially grow from this experience. It's weird. He's simultaneously being like, I hope they forget, but at the same time, not really, because he thinks that history is important and that there's certain aspects that should be remembered, and how believing that we can't do that by having these artifacts, but it needs to be told through story. And Zhongli's even talking about his own weird immortal mortality here, I guess, where he's like, one day I may even be gone. So there's that as well. It's weird. He's almost just like, yeah, history by word of mouth is the way to go. Screw artifacts and ancient writings and these temples and blah blah blah, but it should be, the story should be told. And it's kind of weird. Like, I don't really, if that's what he's saying, I don't really agree with that. So I think throwing the artifacts into the water as like goodbye is like cool. It's like, it feels like a cool moment in the game, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, it's kind of dumb. A little bit, thinking about it more. But yeah, and it's interesting how he's putting so much, not so much pressure, but just kind of like, hey, you traveler, you're the guy. You can travel to other worlds and share these stories. It's your memory that's important. We just proved that memory isn't great. I mean, if we're going to take anything into consideration, what about Wanyan throughout this whole entire experience? She looked into the salt god Havria, and like, yeah, I guess she read stuff, but those writings were made from someone's telling of the story, their memory, and then edited over time, and their reworks probably, and all that stuff. But it's a weird concept because she's using what she learned and her memory to be like, yeah, the salt god was this. They were like this, man. They were great. And then Zhongli just having like the more accurate telling of the story for being there around the time. Just had to be like, nah, your recollection of it is just wrong. So it's weird. It's like, I kind of see what he's saying, but I also don't at the same time. And then putting all of his eggs in one basket with like having the traveler be that person to not only remember stuff that happens and hear all these stories, but to go to other worlds and possibly share these stories so it spreads. And it's like cool, but it's no longer history. It's just stories. It's interesting. It's really interesting. I like the idea that Zhongli is like this, where the people have to move on. I really do like that. But then having all this faith in like having that storyteller, that being that guy to collect everything and to share it across the freaking dimensions or whatever this is that's going on here is just, it's a little wild. It's a little wild. But I think it also guarantees our safety. Not guarantees our safety, but like, hey, Zhongli wants us to survive. He wants us to eventually leave this place so we can spread these stories, right? It'd be a shame if we were just to disappear or get killed or die one day. So maybe when things get tough in Celestia or wherever later on in the game, Zhongli might step in and be like, wait a minute, this is my historian we're talking about. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'll learn more about the guy. But yeah, this was a really fun story quest. Once again, I apologize for not showing you my original footage, but it would have been like a silent movie, and that would have been kind of lame. Anyway, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, then just let me know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about Zhongli and his way of going about things and stuff. And although I may not agree with you, it doesn't mean that we can't just talk about it. Full circle, bring it back to the first point that I made that they kind of talked about. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, shine on, you crazy diamonds. Later.